It's Jets week, and we got some stuff to talk about. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and checking out my channel. I always appreciate my little itty bitty channel getting views, and each and every one of you guys. Obviously, it's super important to have the small amount of viewers that I have right now come in and checking the video out. I do appreciate it. So thank you. Um, it's Jets week. It's a big week for Miami fans. Obviously, it's a rivalry. It's, well, we just, as Dolphins fans, we just don't like the Jets. But before we get into all the Jets stuff, and the three keys to victory for the offense and defense in this game, and the stats of our teams, and my prediction for the game, and all of that, we have some other things that I kind of want to ease into here as we talk about this, and I want to talk about some things going on with Miami and reiterate one thing that I have been saying since the beginning of the season, and really last season, even before I started my YouTube channel. And it's becoming more and more common. Like, you're seeing it on all these other Dolphins YouTubers channels, and everybody else is saying the same thing now, and you're seeing it become more and more seemingly pertinent for everyone, and everybody seems to be on the same page with it. And that's uh, Chris Grier needs to be fired. Um, it's not even a point now where there's an argument against it. If you think that Chris Grier needs to be a part of this team still, I'm forced to wonder what product you've been watching for the last few years. And I know last year, we had a good offense, and so and so and whatever. But it's been the same problems for 3 years. And really, a lot of these problems have been the same for the last 20 years. And I'm not saying that the last 20 years is all Chris Grier's fault. I'm not saying that. But the last 6 years have definitely been Chris Grier's fault. And I've covered a lot of it, so I'm not going to get into too much more of it, but some of the things that have been going on, even with Shaq Barrett, that's another good example of kind of, we're starting to see things on the inside through what's happening on the outside. And what I mean by that, it's hard to explain, but I want you to try to put yourself into the mindset and the brain of Mike McDaniel. Shaq Barrett came out days before everybody else found out, apparently. His agent said it, he said it. Came and gave Chris Grier a call and said, I want to come back. And not only do I want to come back, he told Chris Grier that he wanted to play for the Dolphins. Now, I don't know if you know about what happened with Shaq Barrett, but prior to the season starting, and prior to training camp, he lost his daughter. His daughter died. And it was a terrible thing. And I'm not going to venture a guess onto what happened. I think I know what happened, but I'm not going to talk about that. But what I'm saying is he had every reason to retire. Losing a child is something that's extremely difficult, like to the point where saying it's extremely difficult isn't even close to doing it justice. I can't even begin to explain that. But he told Chris Grier that he wanted to come back. Now, a few days later, there were some press conferences with Mike McDaniel and Anthony Weaver. And at the time, everybody kind of thought that Barrett didn't tell anybody. He just told his agent, and they let it slip that he was trying to get in with Tampa Bay, and then he was trying to get signed on to another team, and all this stuff. And we come to find out that's not what happened. We come to find out that, and in those press conferences, Mike McDaniel and Anthony Weaver seemed kind of taken back by it, like they didn't even know. And nobody really thought much of that until it comes out that Anthony Weaver and Mike McDaniel had no idea that Shaq Barrett and his agent had called Chris Grier days before. Days before. And expressed interest in coming back. Now, I realize he might not have been in 100% game shape, but the fact that it took that long and that they had to find out, Weaver and McDaniel had to find out from anybody other than Chris Grier, let alone they had to find out from reporters in a press conference. That's unacceptable. Now, for a decision like that, that should be something that should be discussed with Mike McDaniel. That should be something that should be discussed with Anthony Weaver. And it wasn't. They had no idea. Now, I'm willing to bet you a Buffalo nickel that Anthony Weaver would have loved to have Shaq Barrett on his defense. I bet he would have loved it. Even not knowing his game shape and what condition he was in. Also, I want to tell you something else. These are professional football players. Do you think that someone as established and as a veteran presence in the locker room as Shaq Barrett would have been, do you think that he would have come and said, I want to play this year for Miami if he wasn't in some kind of good shape? No, he wouldn't have said that. He was probably in good shape. Good enough to help us out on defense a little bit. And wouldn't you know it, we go into that game against Green Bay, and what happens? Our defense, especially our edge rushers, were non-existent. They did nothing that whole game. Pardon me. I got the North Pole sniffles. When you live up here, it's like you're just moving from cold to cold, and a little mini sickness to mini sickness sometimes, especially when it's the middle of winter. It's like 15 below right now, and not too bad. Well, for a lot of you guys down there in South Florida in the lower 48, it's probably that's pretty cold. But I mean, it's actually not too bad right now. But I digress. This is one example of Chris Grier not doing the things he's supposed to do as the general manager. What is the job of the general manager? Well, the first thing that a general manager should be thinking about and should be taking into consideration before he makes any decision is facilitating success in the team. A GM is a facilitator. He's the top facilitator. He's the one sitting way up there that's supposed to be handing down little nuggets of success for the rest of the team to help them get better and be a good team. That should be his goal. And he's not doing it. He made the decision to tell Barrett to kick rocks. Oh, my phone made noise. He made the decision to tell Shaq Barrett to kick rocks without even talking to them, without even talking to his coaches. That's not being a good general manager. General manager doesn't mean you're the king. It means that you're a manager. You're supposed to manage things. You can't manage things if you're not in communication with the people right below you. Other people who are supposed to be facilitating success to the team. That's just one example. There's a bunch of different examples. Dudley Do Wrong on his channel. Go check him out if you haven't. And I'm not gonna, copy paste everything that he said, but go watch his video on this. There's a bunch of stuff besides this, not this, but other stuff that he got into about Chris Grier for the last 6 years, and it's a mess. The man needs to be fired. We need to move on. We need to get somebody else in that seat now, not at the end of the season. It needs to happen now. Because if we do that, that'll give whoever's in that seat time to watch during this season, the end of this season, and watch all the players and the coaches and formulate some educated opinions on these coaches and players to decide what direction he needs to go. It'll just make the decision-making process at the end of the season better if he has an idea of what to what he wants to do. It's harder to do that if you just come in the off season. I've never been more sure of something needing to happen as I am now. In this. This is definitely what needs to happen. Chris Grier needs to be fired. I say it almost every single video, and it just gets more and more serious. Now we have a lot of other people, a lot of other YouTubers and members of the media and fans, and everybody knows it. I bet most of the players know it too. Now, I know that there are other people who share responsibility for the success that we've not had this year so far. But if we have coaches that aren't being given proper information to improve their team, how much responsibility can we throw on those coaches? I don't think we can throw too much on there. Obviously, McDaniel and Anthony Weaver are on that list of people that, are responsible. But from my point of view and from what I'm looking at, my suggestion would be first to fire Chris Grier and give Mike McDaniel and Anthony Weaver a general manager that they can work with. One that understands how to be a general manager and not just wants to play God with a football team. If they don't know about players like that are what they're wanting to do, if they have no clue about it and find out from the press, it's pathetic. And I know there's rumors saying Mike McDaniel has lost the locker room and blah blah. I don't buy it. Number one, it's completely unfounded. There's no source or any kind of proof issued with that. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen that post about that on Twitter or X, or on Facebook, and there's literally nothing to it. So I'm not going to give much credibility to it. Aside from that, this is that part of the season where, are we going to make the playoffs? Probably not. I'm going to talk about the playoffs, and I'm going to talk about the season and what we have going on here and what we would need to have happen here in a minute. But it's not something I really, really am confident is going to happen. Could it happen? Yes, it could. But it's not something that I think is definitely going to happen. I'm not confident in it. And I am going to be talking about this stuff, hopefully in a little more detail on Friday. Curtis over at Ace Per Head, on his YouTube channel, I'm going to be doing a live stream with him on this Friday, at 6 p.m. Eastern, I think is when it is, or 6:30 Eastern. And hopefully we'll have a chance to discuss more of this. Curtis is a great dude, and he mirrors a lot of the things that I've been saying on my channel too, and a lot of other YouTubers, Dolphins YouTubers, are saying as well. We all kind of seem to be on the same page, which is strange because there's not a lot that 70 or 80 YouTube channels are agreeing on. But with the Chris Grier thing, I think we're across the board, everybody agrees. So we'll have a chance to talk about that. And if any of you aren't subscribed to him, go subscribe to him, Ace Per Head on YouTube. It's a fantastic channel. He brings a lot of stats and presents a lot of information in his videos. And for people that know football and love football, it's right up your alley. I promise. Go check him out. So can't wait for that. And if you guys want, go ahead and join that live stream when it happens on Friday night. So we're sitting here at 5-7 in week 14, about to happen. Last week there was some games that we needed to have. Well, not needed, I guess, but would have wanted to have happen to help this situation a little bit and make things a little easier. Obviously, we lost to the Packers. Good game, Packers. You guys smoked us, and that's just the way it is. We had the Chargers. They beat the Falcons. We wanted the Chargers to lose that game. They did not. The Falcons played like trash, and so their quarterback. And the Chargers ended up winning that close game. Colts squeaked out a win against the Patriots. We wanted the Colts to lose too. They did not. And the Broncos beat the Browns. A great game on Monday night. I had a blast watching that game. It was fantastic. It's hard not to like Jameis Winston. It's hard not to root for the guy. Obviously, if you're a Broncos fan, you weren't going to root for him. But Jameis Winston's awesome to watch. Bo Nix for the Broncos he's fun to watch too. It was a great game. It was a great offensive game to watch, and there was a lot of stuff on defense to see too. It was a great Monday night game. I enjoyed it immensely as a football fan. As a Dolphins fan, I did not want the Broncos to win that game, but they did. So, all the games that we needed to have go a certain way did not go that way. Didn't go the way we wanted. So, now we're sitting here with, I think, like a 13% chance of making the playoffs. And we're out of room. We're out of wiggle room. There's no game that we can lose on our schedule anymore. I told you 9-8 is not going to make the playoffs in the AFC, and it's not. There's no way. So we can just put that little baby to bed, night, and let's be real about this. In order for the Dolphins to make the playoffs, the first and foremost, the first thing that has to happen is we've got to go 10-7. That means we have to win all the rest of our games. Well, what do we have? We have the Jets this week. Then we have the Texans. Then we have the 49ers. Then we have the Jets. Then we have the Browns. And then we have the Jets again. 5 games. We have to win them all to finish 10-7 and even have a chance. Now, if the Broncos and the Chargers win out, if they win all their games, we will not make the playoffs, obviously. We need some help. Now, this week, obviously, we need to win. We need to beat the Jets. That has to happen no matter what. And hopefully that's what the team is focused on. The Jets. It's Jets week. It's a division rivalry. The Dolphins are 6. They're giving 6 points to the Jets at home. So the Dolphins are at home. They're giving 6 points to the Jets. I would expect that to go closer to 7. But we'll see. The Chargers are playing the Chiefs. The Chargers very likely could lose that game. They could also win it the way the Chiefs are playing, and especially Chargers are playing well. The Chargers could win that game, but I think the Chiefs will win that. That'll help us. And that's really the only game that we have to look at this week because the Broncos and the Colts are both on a bye. So this week we're kind of just basically the only thing we need to focus on is beating the Jets this week. As fans, that's all we have to worry about. Beat the Jets. As far as the other teams, like I said, the Broncos and the Colts are on a bye, and the Chargers play the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I hope, handle business there. It's at Arrowhead Stadium, so the Chiefs should win that game. But like I always say, they play the game for a reason. I'll give the injury update as it gets closer to time to play, probably Friday night. Maybe right after the live stream with Ace Per Head, with Curtis over there. And then I'll get on here and make a little video with the injury report. That way you guys can see. But it's looking like Sauce Gardner is going to be out for this game. And, well, to be honest, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed have not been playing well for the Jets as of late. And really, Sauce Gardner hasn't been playing well all year. So, we'll talk about some of that stuff here as we move into these stats and stuff. So, right now, the Miami Dolphins offense had, we had a rough game there against Packers. We are 19th in the NFL in yards per game on offense with 329 yards per game. We are 23rd in the NFL at 19.3 points per game. Our rushing offense has slowly been dropping these last few weeks. We're now at 22nd with 110.3 yards per game. Our passing offense is 17th at 217.8 yards per game. The Jets' offense, and this is, I mean, I didn't know, I knew the Jets' offense was bad. I just didn't know it was this bad. And obviously that bodes well for Miami. The Jets are 31st in the NFL at 293.1 yards per game. They're 25th in the NFL at 18.8 points per game. That's a bad offense. They're 29th in rushing and 23rd in passing. So their offense all around is not good. Bottom quarter of the league in every category. Every statistical category for their offense is in the bottom quarter of the league. Our defense, we are ranked overall 7th in the NFL, the Dolphins are, at allowing 311 yards per game. We're 14th, allowing 22.2 points per game for our defense. Rushing, we're 9th, and passing, we're 9th. So that's, we're a pretty solid defense. I think I know the points, we're 9th for passing and 9th for rushing for our defense. But I really feel like where we need to really hunker down is tackling and stopping the run. If we can do that, everything else will get a little easier. So we'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. The Jets defense, they are 3rd in the NFL, allowing 301 yards per game. They are 15th in the NFL, allowing 22.3 points per game. The Jets defense is 20th against the rush and 2nd against the pass. 2nd against the pass, 20th against the rush. If I just gave you that stat, and that stat alone, that should give you our game plan for the Dolphins game against the Jets. That's the game plan. Screw the pass. I mean, you're going to have to throw it occasionally anyway. But that can't be the focus in this game. The focus in this game needs to be running the ball. So, what are the offensive keys to victory? Well, I mean, the first one's obvious. It's run early and run often. Now, in that, there are some ways we can do this. Obviously, they have a fantastic interior line. So what I would suggest is stretch plays and plays bleeding to the outside of the line. I mean, we're going to have to run up the middle too. And you have to do that in order to make people stay honest and not just key up on outside runs. But outside of the tackles in this game, that's where we're going to make our money as a team that's trying to win this game. Along with the run early and run often, the second step is our offensive line needs to step up. No more of that crap that we saw on Thursday against the Packers. Can't be that. It can't be. They've got a good defense. I don't care. We can't have that. Our linemen just folding up and letting people go right across immediately. Can't have that. Can't be getting beat off the ball. Can't be getting crushed. Our line needs to step up. The last thing, and this one might not be as obvious, but it's something that I think is very important, especially in a game like this where the running game and the short pass is what's going to keep us alive in this game. Just because we're running the short pass doesn't mean we need to avoid the deep routes. Our outside receivers need to run deep routes. Well, why? Well, because if we run deep routes on almost every play, run those deep routes. Number one, it clears the edges, it clears the sidelines, and it stretches out that defense going back a long ways because they have to respect Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And when they respect Tyreek and Jalen, if they're running deep routes on both sides of the field, then that's going to leave a lot of open room underneath. So, That's the third point, is they need to stretch the field with deep routes on the outside. If they do that, that outside run game and that stretch game, it's going to be open. It's going to be there. Might not be there immediately, but once we start seeing those safeties and those corners staying back and honoring Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, they need to demand double teams. If they do that, we're going to win this game. Offense is going to score points. Look for more of a short passing game and running game and just kind of gradually work our way down the field. Don't expect huge plays from scrimmage. This ain't the game for that. There's always a chance that the Jets won't honor Tyreek and Jalen, and if they do, on that first play from scrimmage, as soon as Tyreek and Jalen take those deep routes down the field, if they're not doubled, start hucking it. But I think they're gonna honor them. They don't want to get beat that way. They think that their defense is going to be able to stop the short game. And when I say short game, I mean run game and the short pass. I don't think they'll be able to do it, especially the way their cornerbacks are playing, which is weak. I know it's hard to say and it's hard to believe because, DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner are supposed to be really good. This year, I would definitely say DJ Reed is playing better than Sauce. And Sauce is playing bottom of the league cornerback play right now. If he's playing, he's suspect. If he's not playing, great. Bring in the third and fourth string. This is where tight ends and even extra linemen will be huge. This is where I would expect to see twin tight end type plays. Or a tight end and an extra lineman on the other side. Let them know what we're doing. Punch them in the mouth. That's what needs to happen for our offense to win this game. Or at least to do their part. For the defense. And it hasn't been happening. And I know that Bradley Chubb is coming back and Cameron Good is coming back. They are on their 21-day window for practice. And they have to be back on the roster by then in order to even play this season. McDaniel said they're going to play this season. I'm taking him at his word here, and I'm not really thinking they're going to be back for this game. But I am thinking that McDaniel is kind of letting this. It's like an experiment. I think what he's doing is, if we win against the Jets this week, I think next week Bradley Chubb and Cameron Good play. I don't think they play if we lose this week. Because what's the point? If we lose this week, the season's over. So I wouldn't expect Bradley Chubb and Cameron Good to play if we lose to the Jets. But if we beat the Jets, the game against Houston, I would expect to see Bradley Chubb in uniform and on the sidelines ready to play. And Cameron Good. But in that line, these defensive keys to victory. Number one, heavy pressure. And not just heavy pressure, heavy organic pressure, which means no extra blitzers. Not necessary. This offensive line is weak on the Jets. It's supposed to be this huge, great offensive line, and they've been playing like garbage. Even, I'd say, more so than what our offensive line has been doing. So, heavy organic pressure, which means just the down linemen and the edge rushers getting organic pressure, getting pressure without blitzers. Just them. Getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers. With that, the second thing is we need to make Aaron Rodgers pass. We need to stop the run. Heavy domination on that line of scrimmage. Stop the run and make Aaron Rodgers pass. If we make Aaron Rodgers pass, we're going to get to him. This is the week that happens. Look for Chop Robinson to eat in this game. Look for Zach Sealer to eat in this game. Look for Calais Campbell to eat in this game. If it doesn't happen, we're going to lose. So I'm thinking it's going to happen no matter what. But if we don't get pressure on Aaron Rodgers, if he can just sit back there for hours, we're going to lose this game. since we're talking about all these points for defense about heavy pressure, organic pressure, making Aaron Rodgers pass by stopping the run, obviously the last one is that edge rushers have to step up in this game. In that last game, our edge rushers were trash. They had no push. They had no domination on the line of scrimmage. They could not get off the ball. They weren't making tackles. After that performance last week, this week needs to be a clinic. They need to put a clinic on. Honestly, if they play the way they could play, they could get 7 or 8 sacks in this game. I want to see it. That's what the defense needs to do to help win this game. Take care of some of those things on the offense and some of those things on defense, and we'll win this game handily. And then we'll be moving on to Houston with hope. If we don't win this game, there is no hope for the season. It's over. But even if the season is over after this week, if the Dolphins do lose to the Jets, we have 4 more games to play. And that's when, as fans, we can start evaluating and not just hoping for wins. Obviously, I'm still going to root for our team to win. Like I've mentioned 1,000 times, I'm always going to have a little bit of that hopium as a fan. Otherwise, there's just no point in even being a fan. I'm going to have hope, and I'm going to root for my team, and I'm going to pick them to win every game. Just because I pick a team to win every game, that doesn't mean that I think they're going to win every game. I think we're going to win this game, though. I think we have the ability to win it. I think we have the right mindset, especially after losing a game like that last week. Nobody's going to say, oh, well, they lost to the Packers, but they beat the Jets, so it's all okay. No one's going to say that. And I think the Dolphins know that. Players know that. But now they got something to prove to themselves because they laid an egg on national television. And even knowing that it's not going to make up for that, they want to get started. At least I hope they do. I know I would. I would want to get started immediately. If I was on that team, you would not be able to get me out of the building all week before this game. So hopefully we have more players like that on the team. I do think Miami wins this game. I think they win it handily. I do not think that the Jets have enough offensive firepower to take over this game and score the points necessary. I think Miami wins this game 27-10, and I think we move on at 6-7 to face the Houston Texans. Next step, baby. That's all there is to it. 27-10, Miami. Everybody, thank you for taking the time to sit here with me. If you made it to the end of the video, I greatly appreciate it. Throw a like down there. Comment. Tell me what you think I got wrong. If you think I'm right, tell me I'm right. Tell me whatever you need to tell me. If you're a frustrated Dolphins fan, tell me what's frustrating you. Maybe I can use some of this stuff to make a future video. Thank you for being here. And Dolphins fans, have faith. I know it's a hard time right now. I know there's not a lot to cheer for. Seems like every time we get our hopes up, something happens. But things will change. It'll happen. Not gonna be setting no world record of winless streaks like the Cubs did or something like that. It's not gonna be like that. Good things are coming. I think the loss of Chris Grier would be a great way to start that out. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great evening. Have a great week. And I'll see you in a couple days when I make my next video. Fins up. Thanks.